Hello and good football to all. I'm AJ, and with me is our special guest, my pops. Welcome, Dad. On this podcast, we talk football and only football, so help us God. Welcome to the bonus episode, Clemson at Notre Dame week. Dad, shall we football? And traditionally here we answer yes, and if no, we just stop the podcast and never speak again.
Oh, we shall football.
All right. So a little bit of background. We're Notre Dame fans, if that wasn't clear here. Dad, a little bit of background. Why are we Notre Dame fans?
I happened to graduate from there, and I had a sheepskin to prove it.
I assume that means a degree in old people talk, yeah?
Well, yeah, that could be, yeah.
And what dorm were you in?
Oh, my God, the men from Dillon. I lived there for 4 years. Yeah, in fact, I'm out here in the desert in California, and I'm going to catch up to two of my roommates, Joe Scotcha and Bob Jank, and Bob Jank's wife, Terry, who's a Notre Dame grad, and we're going to get together and have some fun and cheer on the Irish tomorrow at, I think it's going to be 4:30 our time.
Well, hopefully we have something to cheer about. And basically, I grew up in a house where the only thing to be was a Notre Dame fan, or you got to sleep in the garage. So let's preview the game a little bit here, Dad.
Young lad, may I say that you may be overstating in case that you grew up, but other than that, I think we're on the right path.
That's adorable. Before we preview the game, actually, let's we live in two different states. I'm in North Carolina. Dad's in Pennsylvania, currently in California. Dad, what are your impressions of the season so far? We're 6 games deep. Would you tell Mom to go away? I love you, Mom. Go away.
Mom, he said go away. Seriously. He can hear you, pick you up, honey.
You know what? I was going to tell you to go someplace safe, but I didn't think there was one. So
no, there really isn't.
Good luck over there.
Yeah, thank you.
So impressions so far, we're 6-0, and we're going to say this is biased and unapologetic about it. So we are 6-0, 5-0 in the conference play. So talk to me. What are your impressions? Also, how do you feel about us being in a conference for the first time ever? You're a traditionalist.
I am. And it certainly is unique. You have to think about all the years we've been independent and fought so hard to do that. And the times, are a little different this year. And God bless all of them. They're being able to play football this year, but especially the Fighting Irish. We're glad to have them on the field, and apparently everybody seems to be safe and sound. So that's important. As far as this game is concerned, I think the challenge that we have is, can we go back?
Whoa.
Well, that's what happens when you interview old people.
Slow your roll there.
Buddy, don't ask me 18 questions.
You're not that important.
18 questions.
Would you not talk over the host? You're not that important. It's not an interview. This is more for me to hear my own voice, if anything. What about the season so far? We'll get to the game. So we've played Duke, South Florida, Florida State, Louisville, Pitt, and Georgia Tech. 2 away games, Pitt and Georgia Tech. 1 non-ACC game, South Florida. So impressions, what do you got?
So sorry for the senior moment. I think the defense has been special. I go back, I graduated in 79, we had a national championship team in 77, 78, and also enjoyed the team in 80, 88, 89 that won a national championship. And they had a really great defense, led by guys like Chris Zorich. And I think that this defense that we have right now is the quickest, the most physical we've had since then. And not only are the frontline guys deep and solid, but so are the guys behind them. You bring a guy like, Jack Kaiser off the bench due to COVID issues, and my God, what a talent he displayed on the field. So I think that the depth on the defense is significant. I think we struggled on the offense. While we've got a good offensive line and some good running backs, I think Ian Book has struggled in the throwing game. I think it's a combination of things. He certainly lost quite a few of his wideouts that were spectacular last year, including our boy Chase Claypool in Steelerland.
Go Steelers. That's
Steeler
my
Nation.
FYI. That's my rookie of the year pick. I don't care about Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert.
No.
It's all Chase Claypool.
No.
So I'm going to stop you real quick here. You said under various quarterback coaches, including Tommy Rees, that Ian Book has struggled. This is a winner of 20 plus games and a loser of 3 games, big games as a starting quarterback, losing to Clemson, Georgia, and Michigan. That's it. And yet he seems to get worse every year, at least in my observation. Is that a trend here? I mean, Kaiser, Golson, Zaire, now Book. Are you frustrated with this?
Well,
as
obviously, obviously as a fan, I'm frustrated with all the ones that you brought up. I think that these are good young lads that really work hard in their game, and also, scholastically, academic, I guess, a better way of saying it. And so it's a lot of work these guys have got to do on and off the field. And I think the good young men, it's but when you put it in a football acumen, it's a bit of a disappointment. And I don't think you can put it all on Ian. I think he works really hard and goes in there, and boy, he takes a beating every time. Sometimes running around trying to create action, and then obviously, when he sets his mind to go downfield, he's not afraid to go in there and mix it up with the folks. He gets down most of the time, but not all the time. So
he's become very, very proficient and very experienced at the quarterback slide, and thankfully so. Also, that little juke right before he gets to the sideline there, perfected that. And then especially against Louisville, I mean, my goodness, that little tiptoe along the sideline to get into the end zone, which unfortunately solidified the game. I say unfortunately because we needed it to solidify the game. It was 12-7. The defense has given up. The defense has kept them in everything. And the offense has, they put up 27, 52, 42, stinker, and 12 against Louisville, 45 and 31. So circling back to this season, you talked about the D-line. You talked about us being deep, good running backs, good offensive linemen. So to parlay that further into previewing the Clemson at Notre Dame game, first of all, what do you think about all of the injuries and COVID-related holdouts for Clemson? Does that bum you out at all? Is this game mean as much as it did?
For the Irish, it sure does. I think they have something to prove. Usually the Southern schools, with the speed and the power and the great recruiting classes they have, with Clemson and Alabama being at the top of the heap, we're striving to represent the North, so to speak, and be able to play against these titans of football. Because if you take a look at the last multiple championships that we've been had, I don't find many other names other than those two. And last year was LSU, and typically they're loaded as well. So, I think that that the Irish have done a great job of attracting the kind of talent it takes to be able to play with them. But they can't, they got to step up to the moment. And I think, and the challenges that we faced in 3 games that you talked about that we lost in Ian's, career, is we didn't just lose, we got thumped. And, so it, and, you kind of scratch your head and trying to figure out, and it's not just all on Ian, but you scratch your head and say, where did they drink the water that they should have drank, or what happened in those games? Because they weren't the team that we'd seen game in and game out. So, we've got some work ahead of us. We really do. And so I don't care whether it's, DJ, as I say, the guy that's replacing Lawrence or not. That's still one guy, a very important guy. But DJ had a hell of a football game last week, so I'm not so sure he's, that allowed him to get some game experience to come up to South Bend, and I think we've every prepared.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's not contingent on one player, even if that player is probably the best player in football and the not just presumed but assumed #1 overall pick in the what will be the 2021 draft. So for reference here, Pops, there is definitely in recruiting, you mentioned, there's definitely without a doubt an academic gap between Clemson and Notre Dame. That said, here, we're pretty specific with the offers that we put out because of the rigors of getting into Notre Dame. I know this has been beaten to death, but it is hard. Trust me. Dad went there. I didn't get in for a litany of reasons, but I did not get in. So putting that out there, but I mean, we're not Stanford. We're not throwing out like 40 offers a year and you got to visit first and all that. But Clemson, for reference this year, Dad, they put out 72 offers, at least as reported by 24/7 Sports. We put out 149 so far. And when you get to schools like Bama and Georgia, they're throwing out 200-300 a year. These guys are choosy. And you know what? We do go head to head on a lot of recruits. There was one, Will Shipley from Weddington High School in Matthews, North Carolina, which I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's pretty close to us. 5-star running back, committed to Clemson, was choosing between Clemson and Notre Dame. We do go after a lot of the same recruits. Dabo Swinney seems to recruit a similar type of young man to his program as Brian Kelly does his program. So to your point, this has a lot of implications. We can roll with the big boys here. And I hate that we have to say that, but so we can roll with the big boys here.
Yeah. But AJ, it's real and it happens and we're proud of it. As you go in to meet people in your life and you're able to say that you're a graduate of Notre Dame, it catches people's attention for all the right reasons.
Speaking of which, did you see Malik Zaire is now calling for CBS?
No, I did not see that. Good.
Yeah, if you got to check that. I'll send you a link later on. You got to check that out. He's something else. He is a super fun, super intelligent guy. Yeah, he didn't spend too much time at all in the minors, if you will. Pretty quick to the majors, doing a great job.
That's great to hear that.
So we've got a defense that's playing really, really well, has great numbers, and an offense that struggles throwing the ball. I have a thought here. We've got our 4 main wide receivers are Javon McKinley, number 88, Mike Mayer, 87, Tommy Tremble, 26. Am I getting that right?
He's number 24.
And Ben Skoranek, who's number 11, who against Pitt just went off. Took one to the house, looked fast. That's a grad transfer from Northwestern. Sco, as we call him, is 6'3". McKinley is 6'2", 6'3", 224. McKinley's 6'2", 215. Mayer, now on the depth chart, Brock Wright is going to be listed as a starter. Fake news, entirely false. I was surprised he caught a ball. I think it was in the last game against Georgia Tech. I was surprised he caught it at all. Tremble and Mayer are the go-to targets. Tremble is 6'4", 248, and Mayer is the meanest 6'5", 235 that I've ever seen. And Tremble might be the meanest 6'4", 248. My point here is we're rolling 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", with some weight behind it. Why are we not throwing jump balls?
Well, it's a good question. You kind of wish someone would get up there like that. He certainly trusted, Chase Claypool through his career, especially last year. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out is there's a lot of work in progress going on with Book and his throwing mates. And, there wasn't a lot of experience up till this year, starting this year, and they've got to figure things out. And, I think we'd all wish that they'd figure it out a little bit more than they have, but that's where we're at coming into this game. But, let's hope that they've broken enough eggs to make the omelet and we get a W.
I hope so, because if you look at their secondary, it's an average secondary. Both safeties are 6'1", 205, and 200. The cornerbacks, this is entirely disregarding their talent, skill level, recruiting, ranking, all that. Cornerback 6 foot, 6 foot, 6 foot, 6 foot, between 195 and 185. And I'm sure those are all, just like ours, they're all a little fudged, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
None of that. I mean, no matter what.
The Irish never fudge anything. Remember that.
We're true. Good Catholics. Good Catholics. These guys, look, 6'1", 205 is the biggest they're rolling back there. Smallest is 6 foot, 185. Outside of the slot guys we throw in there, if we're rolling with Sko, McKinley, Mayer, and Tremble, Mayer and Tremble being maybe since Nicholas, the two meanest offensive players we've had, and Kyron Williams runs angry as well. We've got mean maulers. I mean, the meanest Notre Dame player I've ever seen was Big Q, Quentin Nelson, hands down. But still, these guys, especially Mayer, and we're going to beat a dead horse all season long and have thus far. Mike Mayer is lying about his age for sure. That's not an 18-year-old kid.
Well, first off, no, he's a big lad, and he's a space eater with a lot of athletic skills. So that's pretty neat to see. I think Tremble, if I was a defense, my biggest fear is he's going to come down and bust you up in a blocking scheme. And, if there's we've established the run pretty well with the talent we have, especially, with the two blocking, tight ends, but especially Trimble. He's just a beast, and he takes pride, and it's really nice to see that.
Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it really is. And so they're following a long line of tight ends that have, really come through the, Notre Dame. And
that's
the same thing with it is a pipeline, as is the offensive lineman. I mean, we've got a great offensive line this year. And, if you go throughout the roster, God bless Ronnie Stanley going down.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Oh, that stinks. Yeah. That stinks on ice.
God bless him for getting that signed contract that he could drive by the time it happened.
Yep.
And hopefully get him back on the field. But, they've got a lot of offensive linemen who have left us and made all pro and done very well in the NFL. So, that's where we've, sort of made our grade, so to speak. But, we're starting to see some wideouts, in the NFL and able to play at that level. And hopefully we start seeing some defensive guys on the other side of the ball to be able to do that as well, be dominant. We have Stephon Tuitt, for the Steelers. Again, yay, Steeler Nation. And he's a beast. He's one of the main reasons, quite honestly, why the Steelers are 7-0 at this stage of the year. So
he could not be outside of interior line, and it's sort of the defensive equivalent of interior line. He could not be at a less visible position. That is an all-pro player, and there's literally nowhere else in the field where he could be less visible than a 3-4 defensive end. I wish he would have slimmed down, turned into an edge rusher, a true 4-3 end or 3-4 outside linebacker, a little pizzazz, a little glitz and glamour. He's a space eater and one of the best in the league, and nobody knows.
Well, he's starting to get the sun starting to shine on him a bit because, he's, a lot of the announcers are now really talking about what he does in the trenches and how effective he is. And, So that's great to see that, and he's getting his just dues. And so it's great to see somebody from ND being able to be successful in the NFL, but especially for our hometown team.
Especially in Pittsburgh. And
yeah,
I think Chase Claypool is going to be the best thing that happens to Notre Dame in terms of recruiting. I think it's even bigger than Quentin Nelson, being like immediately the best guard in football almost. Maybe the only better guard is Zach Martin, another Notre Dame grad. So, Dad, let's parlay this into the game. So our strength is on the offensive line. It's on our deep defense with a couple playmakers, Owusu Koromo, Wu, the rover outside linebacker. Notre Dame runs a 4-2-5. Anyone listening to this probably already knows that, but he's a rover. It's hybrid safety, hybrid linebacker type deal. And he's all over the field collecting all kinds of different stats. Doesn't stack up any single stat, but forced fumbles, recoveries, sacks, passes defended, interceptions, tackles for loss, just everything. And Kyle Hamilton is a big play waiting to happen. We've got a lot of solid guys, but we've established where the bread and butter of this team is. I actually think that by establishing the pass early on, you unload the box, and then that strength turns from a strength to a dominant force.
Well, it does
impose your will. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think the victory, if we're going to get a victory in this game, I think it boils down to this, and that is from after the first second that Book gets the snap, from the first second to the third second, what does he do? Because I think that's where he has struggled, and many times are not looking downfield but looking at the rush. At least that's what it appears to me. And
that's a good point, because I think, sorry to cut you off, it's a good point that we don't have game film. We don't have that film that comes from the end zone that sees all the wide receivers and stuff. And this is a point of contention, is where does the problem come from? Is it play calling? Is it Ian Book? Is the wide receivers not getting separation? A lot of guys in the booth will, Dungy included, will say a handful of different things. So it's good. Go on. I think it's good to include that. I mean, we just don't know because we don't get game film.
Well, yeah, and I'm not so sure I'd spend the time looking at it anyway. So, but I think, so anyways, when you look at this kind of stuff, AJ, and the good blocking that he has, but there's still, my God, the confusion coming your way when you draw back to throw a pass in any level, especially the level of the Division I that we're playing. It's got to be nuts back there. And, what are the contributing factors? I think you mentioned many of the contributing factors. And, when Ian reacts well between the first and the third second, we're in really good shape. When he struggles with it, gets his eyes down from downfield to the blocking that's happening in front of him, that's where, the challenges start to happen. And, that could be because guys are not getting open. It could be because he's surrounded by 6'6", 300-pound bodies.
You read my mind there, Dad. You absolutely read my mind. I mean, how much of this is the fact that he is generously 6 feet tall?
Well, I can't speak to that. I'm not that well, educated to face that.
Don't admit that. Don't admit that. You can tell me that after.
Well, first off, I'm 6'4", so I've never looked at the world at 5'11". You've looked at it for your entire life that way.
5'11" and 3/4, but go on.
Well, yeah, I know. And a good haircut, you're at 5'11". So, the challenge is that what's the world look like, with all that chaos going on?
Very privileged.
Yeah. I mean, you've got 5 guys on one side and a minimum of 4 guys on the other side, and you're at least 5 inches shorter without high heels. And so how the hell do you look at that? I don't know. But I think that's part of his challenge. But, as you mentioned earlier, he's, I think, 28-3. So he's done a lot of really good things for the team, but and for the program. But if I had to tell you where I'm concerned about, it's that first second to third second and what's happening. When he drops and decides to run, I'm excited, because he can make it happen. But whether his decision making is a half a beat slower or whatever the case may be, there's just sometimes he gets bogged down and can't make a play of either throwing the ball or running the ball. But he's been the pride of Notre Dame for what, 2.5 seasons, and he's done real well for us. And it's our time to shine this weekend. Come Saturday night, and I hope we're ready for that opportunity.
Well, this is kicking a dead horse to death here, but he is a winner. We don't lose the games that we should win. We don't win the games that we should lose, but we don't lose the games that we should win, which is a big departure. I almost look at Notre Dame as 2010 to 2015, and then 2016, not even sure if that was a dream or a year that actually happened. And then 2017 to 2020 is almost an entirely different tenure. We have expectations now that are based in honest honest fact and can be statistically and logically backed up.
Can I tell everybody that would potentially listen, never interrupt your dad when he's talking? Is that okay?
You haven't stopped talking. I got to do what I got to do.
Well, okay. Just do it quicker if you wouldn't mind. Hey, so anyways, one of the things I think about though is, you go back in the last, I'll say 4 years, it might be 5 now. We went down to Florida State, should have beat them. We did beat them. That touchdown was a good touchdown, but we got called for the offensive pass interference in the end zone. I'm still seeing a psychologist over that game.
Yeah.
Then we go, and I'm not sure what order. We then go and give Deshaun Watson all he can handle down in Clemson.
In Death Valley. Yeah, Death Valley.
Yeah, we gave them all that they wanted. We did have a couple good battles with Georgia. So we've had some success, as far as not getting blown out. But, obviously you and I, lad, went to the Alabama national championship game, and we got sort of smacked in the nose. We really, and then we got pounded by Clemson the year they won it, when we were undefeated at that point. And that's okay too, because look, at least we're there in the game. I mean, we made it to the playoffs and it didn't come out the way we wanted to, but think about the 120 other Division I programs, or how many are out there that didn't get to that weekend, the first playoff weekend. And we found out how good Clemson was because they pounded Bama, quite honestly, even worse. So
we did. We were in that game. That game was 3-3, if I remember correctly, like halfway through the second quarter. And then every Notre Dame fan knows this. Julian Love goes out for a play, and Dante Vaughn gets burned by Justin Ross for the first of like 3 times in that game.
Yeah, and look, it's like that part in Jungle Book. I've got a tiger by the tail, but there's teeth on the other end. We had a chance because we were close, but we weren't the better team on the field that day. We weren't athletically better. And, as time marched on, we grudgingly gave up some plays that, made the game a little more lopsided than we really wanted it to be. But, this year we're putting, I think, the best defense we've had, certainly in the Kelly era. And, the other thing you have to think about is, we had an epidemic with COVID, 4 weeks ago? And, we had to cancel. Yeah, and we had to cancel a game against Wake. And, Kelly kept the team together. And I think there's several, captains on that team that have been captains for a while. They kept the team
Mm-hmm.
together. And, I think we marched on pretty strongly. Pitt has always given us trouble. And granted, Pitt struggled with a quarterback issue, but, we took care of business pretty well there. And we had the 12-7
45-3, we definitely took care of business. And that run defense, that defensive line is better than Clemson's. But it just statistically, they're better than Clemson's.
Yeah. You could see they had talent on the defensive side of the ball. It's just that, unfortunately, their quarterback situation kind of was the downfall, and no one to blame. It's just that's the way it went. And then, our defense was pretty stout there as always. So it was pretty nice to get a W. But I remember walking out of I've walked out of Pitt Stadium and then, Heinz Field, not being satisfied with the outcome against Pitt.
A handful of times. I do remember the time Julius Jones went off, dating myself, and therein dating Julius you as well. But he was special. Yeah. So what about this Clemson team scares you the most? What is keeping you up, even sans Trevor Lawrence? I'll after you, I'll detail what's giving me nightmares.
Well, the quarterback that came in, DJ, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hit the last name. So
I'll take care of it. Uiagalelei. Uiagalelei, excuse me.
Yeah. See, I haven't been paid for my announcing skills, which are few and far between, if there are any. So I'll just go with sort of the Al McGuire move of all that stuff. So anyways, I think that their quarterback is still 6'5" and 240 pounds is what I read. Wow. And I think he can still run, and he certainly could throw the football. We found out that 380 yards later, against the team they played last week was pretty solid. So, there's a lot of talent there. Etienne is a running back waiting to just explode. You just can't give up on him because, that dog has come to hunt, and he plays hard. So they don't call him as much as I would think they would. But
that's been something that's happened this year. Clemson folks that I've spoken to have said Etienne has not been fed as much as he normally has, and that's same quarterback.
Yeah, but that's like holding back on a greyhound. I mean, that greyhound's ready to run. So once you let the leash go, look out. And now they're traveling instead of playing at home. So with a freshman quarterback, they may go to the ground a little bit more. But we've been pretty stout on the ground, and so they're going against our strength. And so can it get any better than if they go that route, strength on strength, and whoever has the best team is going to win that game. And I don't think you want anything else but that. And so, we have a chance to do that. But also let's consider that if whoever loses this game still has a chance of getting back into the national scene. So, whether we have Lawrence or not, you have to think about, do you really want to try beat Clemson twice? We'd like to beat them the first time just to be able to get it, check that box. But, do you beat a team like that twice? The odds are against you. Notre Dame, if for whatever reason we might not get a W this weekend, we've still got to play football because we get a chance to get a rematch with them, later down in the playoffs. We've never had that, as a Notre Dame squad in the history because we had never been in a conference like this. So we get a chance to play for conference championship. And the way the ACC has done it, they've done it by stacking up the first two teams. Okay, well, I would rather win the game in the playoffs. That's the game we got to win. Do we have to win tomorrow? Yeah, I think so for our confidence and knowing we can go down, we can get it done in our turf. But, if not, it's not like it's all over for, Irish Nation. It's still got a chance to go down there and somewhere where the playoffs being played and probably take on Lawrence. And hopefully learn from whatever we do this weekend and get a shot at it again, and then Clemson can say the same thing. If they lose this weekend, we all pray to God that we help them towards that end. Then, they got a chance to look at us and try to figure out how we beat them, and they can take a shot at us. So, this is a big weekend. It's so wonderful about having college football back, but only with the Irish, being able to still be in the hunt and so on. But it's not like the loser's out of the hunt, because if we, whoever loses the game, the winner's probably heading towards number one. Probably if the Irish will be behind Bama, but I would think we would jump, Ohio State at that point in time, and then at that point in time we get a chance to meet again in the playoffs, or excuse me, not the playoffs, but the ACC championship.
It's weird. It's weird to say Notre Dame and ACC championship game. Wouldn't it be delightful if we come to the league for 1 year, win the championship, and then never come back? Dad, we're gonna pick the game now. Wrap it up here. So the spread is 5.5. It has come down pretty significantly. And the over-under is 50.5. We're going to have 70 and sunny, according to AccuWeather, at 7:30 tomorrow, Saturday night, November 7th. So preface your pick, give us some thoughts, and then name names, lay down some numbers for us.
Well, first off, AJ, the biggest problem we're going to have is even though we're a very fast team, is we still can't grow the grass anymore to 4 inches. So, with that option off the table, I still think we can match, especially on defense, speed against speed. So I think that's good. Not to put any more pressure than you have to on a quarterback. It comes down to how Ian Book performs. And I'm sure pulling for him. He's a great kid. He's done a lot for the institution and been a great representative for us. And I'd like to see him get the W, and I'd also like to see Kelly get the W, because I think he's worked hard as well to get that, as everybody's done this crazy season. So they've held it together. I'd like to get it there. So I can't really, would I sit here and say, can we hold the 5.5 points? My head says one thing, but my heart's saying something else, and I'm going with my heart. Okay. And
as we do.
As we do. Guilty as guilty can be. But anyways, I still think the Irish, can get the W and have a little, provide Irish Nation to some time to enjoy, a big time victory, because, this program really needs one. And that's the reason why I think this is important, because I'd rather have to face the problem of trying to beat Clemson twice. And that's the problem I'd love to have. So, I do believe the Irish can get it done. And I think the defense is probably going to have to score, or at least turn the ball over, get a turnover somewhere deep in Clemson territory for some of that to happen. But they're very capable. And so I think I think the Irish can get it done, but I'm not expecting a big scoring game, but I think they might be able to come close to breaking the 50 barrier, but not sure they're going to get there.
So give us numbers here. Give us a score. So obviously Notre Dame's winning, and by how much? I think it's going to be if the Irish are going to win, it's going to be we're going to have to get to the 28 number. So I think it's going to be 28. And I think we got to try to keep them at 24. So I think it's 28-24. Yeah. So I went with, I saw more field goals, but I went with 27-23. We're on the same page. If we win it, it's because we started hot, hit some deep balls, tackled well, blitzed DJ early, forced at least a turnover or two, didn't make any dumb mistakes, didn't turn the ball over on anything but maybe a deep ball interception, which I'm good with. You got to take chances in a game like this. Hamilton Wu, aka Joker, aka Jeremiah Wusu-Kormo, future first round pick. Isaiah Foskey, that's number 7. Dalen Hayes, number 9, and then Ogundeji. I think they need their best games in an Irish uni. I do see field goals, like I said. If we win, it's because we hit more big plays, didn't make dumb mistakes, pressured DJ, and cracked down on D in the red zone. I really think that's important.
Yeah.
The red zone play on offense and on defense, and I think big plays are important. I mean, this is a no-brainer, but big plays are important to avoid that red zone because everyone cracks down in the red zone, and this defense is no joke. Neither is ours, but their defense is absolutely no joke, and they got studs and 5 stars everywhere that you're not going to bully and you're not going to out athlete. You can out technique and outsmart, and you can go toe to toe. We're not going to see an absolute domination that Notre Dame is generally used to with their offensive line in the new Kelly era. But yeah, I went 27-23 for pretty similar reasons to.
Well, my thought on that, my thought on that too, AJ, I'm with you. We've got to throw at least 3 significant balls in the first 3 possessions we have downfield. Whether they're
Agreed.
the only thing we have to avoid is the interception. And with the size that we have, okay, maybe we don't have the burner, that we would like to have. I don't know.
Yeah, Lindsay is out for 4 to 6 weeks. It's Braden Lindsay, number 0. Yeah, he's out to 4 to 6 weeks. And then Kevin Austin is not coming back this year, number 4.
Okay. So, but still number 11 has got some, he may not be able to have a lot of moves, but you saw him striding pretty well, and at 6'4", 6'5", it's not that you create separation, it's that you just high point the ball, hopefully better than the next guy does. And so if that's happening, I think the good news is I think any of our physical wide receivers, I think they're all physical, can at least, disrupt any kind of interception. I think that if we can get a one-on-one, these 50-50 balls, we can have receivers step up and make a play. But the problem is if we don't do that early, you're not going to see a defensive back more than 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. And the more dink and dunk passes that we have, there's going to be 11 football players that are within everything that's going on if we don't go deep and open things up.
I completely agree with that. The other thing is, you mentioned earlier, Ian Book's legs, not underrated by Notre Dame fans in terms of production, but I think the value of it is underrated by Notre Dame fans. Clearly not you and not really me either, but that is something that's undervalued. I think we need to nix, honestly, the designed quarterback runs. So we let them drop another into coverage and then make sure that he has his get out of jail free card on 3rd down.
Right.
To run to the sideline and grab a quick first down when he needs it. And I do think that you're totally right about the dink and dunk and the run game. I mean, we have to make sure that at least the threat of the deep ball is there. Maybe hit 1 or 2 and just make them think that we can get in their heads a little bit. Now, Brett Venables on that defense is not too apt to play mind games.
Right.
So I don't know how much he would play into that. I imagine that they're going to load the box. They're going to play press coverage, and they're going to make us beat them with separation. But I think the biggest chance is let those big bodies go out there and just out jump and box out like a solid post, solid ball player in the post, and then just take big plays.
Yeah, I think so. And AJ, typically when Ian has his best running games when teams are playing man to man, and I've not studied the game film that you would have sent me anyway, as I already told you, but I assume with the athletes that they have, they play a lot of man to man, and especially thinking that they have superior athletes to ours. So The good news is they'll have their backs turned to the line of scrimmage, and that's when Ian beats up a lot of yardage.
I love it. So I went 27-23, Notre Dame winning. Dad went 28-24. Thanks for listening to this bonus edition of the Shall We Football podcast, because when the question is, shall we football, the answer is always yes.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, Pops. Appreciate it, and good night, everybody. Go Irish.
Go Irish.